Divorce is difficult, especially when children are involved. Ordinarily, the woman would get primary custody and the man would get a few weekends a month. But that trend is changing. Today, national correspondent Natalie Morales has more. Hey, Nat.
Hey, Meredith, that's right. And lately, more and more moms are giving up custody of their kids. But unlike men, they're being judged harshly for that decision.
Like many young girls, Maria Houston had dreams of growing up to be a mom.
My idea of what that looked like was very much what my parents lived, which was the stay-at-home mom and the go-to-work dad. I think that was the only image that I had of what a family looked like.
At age 20, she married the first boy she ever dated and started a family soon after, having 4 children. Several years later, Maria's childhood dream began to unravel when her oldest daughter became ill.
Hannah was diagnosed with cancer a month before her 3rd birthday, and she died almost exactly a year later, a month before her 4th birthday.
The tragedy, combined with years of a marriage that was already struggling, led to divorce, and the painful custody discussion wasn't what Maria expected.
When Claude first suggested to me that he would like to be the parent that stayed in the home and provided the kind of stability and routine that our children were familiar with, my first reaction was I was horrified.
Horrified until she woke up one night with a realization.
The thing I was afraid of is what other people would think. What kind of mother leaves her kids?
So Maria did what she thought was absolutely best for her children, and she moved out of the family home. Her kids would live with her every other weekend and summers. And she was right. Her unconventional decision was judged harshly. She remembers her first night visiting her kids' school.
I walked through this crowd of people. The conversation stopped. And then I could hear, as I passed, it would pick up again. It was this zone of silence as I walked through this room and found my seat.
Child and family psychologist Dr. Charles Sophie feels this double standard for women is uncalled for.
I think it's a wonderful thing that women are able to say, you know what, my partner or my husband may be better at this than me, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Now, 11 years later, Maria is every bit a part of her children's lives, and she still feels her difficult choice was the right one for her family.
I do think that our children have blossomed and grown beautifully into the lives that they're living now. I hope that the decisions we made were a part of that.
And one thing is for certain, it's a difficult and painful decision for either sex. And while fathers are making inroads, mothers still win custody in roughly 70% of divorce cases. Meredith?
Natalie, thank you. Rebekah Spicuglia is a mother who gave up custody for her son. Judith Sills is a clinical psychologist. Joanna Coles is editor-in-chief of Marie Claire magazine, which covers this topic in its current issue. Ladies, good morning to all of you. Rebekah, if I can start with you. Listening to Maria, that must ring a lot of bells for you, too. I know you've had some similar experiences. You gave up custody of your son during the divorce. He's now 11 years old. What convinced you, given everything we know about the way women are judged, what convinced you that was the right thing for you to do?
Well, I think the important thing to remember is that child custody decisions are very complex, and every family situation is different. And for me, I made the best decision that I could in the best interest of my son. And as parents, that's what we have to do. It makes parenting the hardest job possible.
But was it hard to deal with this, not only privately, but also when peers or colleagues would ask you about the whole issue?
Absolutely. I mean, I agree with Maria. I found telling people that I was a non-custodial mom, I found it to be a conversation stopper. And for a long time, I didn't really feel comfortable talking about it. But now, the more I talk about it, the more I find that people's eyes are open to the reality, which is that over 2 million non-custodial moms are in America right now, and it is definitely increasing, partly because people are recognizing that fathers can be amazing primary caregivers and that we shouldn't sell men short.
But Judith, I think that so many people, and I would bet the majority, more women than men, look at somebody like Rebekah and are quick to judge and say, how can you leave your kids? There is a double standard.
Well, for sure, and women are quick to judge other women as mothers even if they go to the office, so you can imagine giving up custody. But it comes from a very serious emotional place. We have a deeply held social feeling the mother-child bond is sacred, and good moms protect and nurture their children. Therefore, if I don't know you, I say, something must be wrong with you. The fact is, some good moms can protect their children best by recognizing someone else is the better parent. Maybe at this moment. Maybe they're emotionally overwhelmed. Maybe to get financially on their feet. Maybe because in a divorce, mom is desperate to leave the house, but she knows the kids need stability. That is the ability to make a rational, individual decision against a social tide. So it takes a lot of strength.
But I would imagine that even though you could make that rational decision, there must have been moments that just tugged at your heartstrings here.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember one incident in particular where I was trying to be listed on my son's emergency card at school. I just wanted to be able to be notified in the case of an emergency, and even though I'm legally entitled to it because I have legal custody of my son, and even though it was supported by his father and the principal of the school, I actually experienced a great deal of hostility from the vice principal.
And what about your relationship with your own son? You live 3,000 miles apart, different coastlines.
Well, we have a great relationship. He spends school vacations with me. He's here during the summer and on Christmas break, and we also communicate all the time. We call, we text. We have a very active communication.
So you feel the whole family's comfortable with the decision that was made?
Absolutely. I mean, our story is not a sad one. It's the story of a happy family that makes it work.
Joanna, what kind of response have you gotten to this article?
Well, we've had a phenomenal response, actually. For the most part, everybody being very pleased to finally read these stories. I think this is a story that has been gradually creeping up. It's increasingly a trend, especially as society becomes less judgmental of men who want to step into that role. We've had a few people who are just like, I'll never understand it, it's insane, you know, what kind of mother is doing this? But I think it was very important to lift the taboo on it and to say these are real stories, they happen to real people, and the children are just fine.
But this issue of the children are just fine sometimes makes the question of divorce a small one or a soft one. There is an issue whether the father leaves or the mother leaves. The issue is, what is the relationship between these kids and the parent they're living with and the parent who's apart? From the social point of view, women are judged harshly. From a kid's point of view, if dad's gone or mom's gone, I react to that.
All right, Judith, thank you very much. Rebekah, thank you so much for joining us. And Joanna Coles, thank you as well.